On a big 89 WLS, if you ask people about Clayton Harris, the first thing that everybody says is he's a really nice guy. Well, I'm here to tell you in the 30 seconds we've gotten to know each other.
He's a really nice guy. Yeah.
He joins us now. Thank you for coming here. I told you this when I shook your hand. A lot of people in your position have chosen a new path. Go, oh, you want to talk to me? Talk to my social media site or for social media folks or see it on my website. So I appreciate you coming over to answer some questions.
This is my pleasure. I'm excited about being here, and I'm excited about talking with folks about what's going on.
You've got a young family, a couple of boys, a wife that's very busy, and a new job. Her and you were telling us off the air a story that both of you were deciding who was more foolish to try to take on the jobs you're taking on. She's got a very challenging job, and you're about to take on, I would argue, one of the most challenging jobs, not just in the city but in the country. Why do you want it?
Yeah, actually, it goes back to them, my wife and my two little boys. You know, we're on the Southside of Chicago, raising two little boys, 9 and 11. You know, we have to worry about gangs and bullets flying the same way that we have to worry about, honestly, being profiled by the police. And I'm really running because we can do more than one thing at a time. We can be safe and just at the same time. And that's why I'm running. And it's not just us. Everyone feels this, you know, so I'm not the only one with kids or a wife or someone I care about. But the urgency of this moment can't be overlooked.
So you're well-known in political circles and by folks who have known you through the years, but you're not well-known publicly. Your name's getting out there now. But what about the experience? What experience can you lean on that's going to serve you? Because not only is this job difficult, you've got to be able to work with cops, judges, and fellow attorneys. That's three platforms of three very different sets of people.
I agree. So getting out there. So first and foremost, thank you for inviting me on. This is going to help out immensely.
Sure.
One of the things I'm going to kind of take a little bit backwards from what you just asked. One of the things I tell people is I have 3 superpowers. One of my superpowers is that I collect friends. So I've been a government affairs expert. I would say we'll let other people confirm or deny that. But because of that, I can work with and have worked with everyone on different levels. This is how you're successful. You don't have to like everyone that you work with. You don't even have to agree with them, but you have to be willing to sit down and to make allowances that you might not be 100% correct. I don't have a problem saying, okay, then let's talk about this. Let's speak to it. So one of the things that I'm going to do, like policy-wise, and I'm a policy professor over the University of Chicago, is that we're going to have to rework our relationship with law enforcement. We have to. We have to do this. The communities that are in most need of police and police protection and work are the ones that are most fearful of calling the police. So we have to be able to communicate with them. So I've been a government affairs expert for a global company and for a national technology firm. I've run state agencies here. And I feel like that coupled with my experience as a former assistant state's attorney makes me uniquely qualified as a leader, a manager, to head this office.
So let me circle back to the police question there for a second, because it's a huge deal and it goes to police morale, the idea that the state's attorney's office is fighting against them, not with them. Right. And Kim Foxx has certainly had that fairly or unfairly attached to her. And I don't, in my opinion, hasn't done a good job of defending herself and her actions in the process. So you and the police will not agree on everything, but you do have to have a working relationship. What do you do to build that?
I think it's communication, is being out there, having regular dialogue with law enforcement, making sure that they understand where we're coming from. It is the state's attorney's job to hold police accountable for the actions that they take and how they're moving to and through. And make no apologies for that. Same way that we hold defendants accountable for what's going on. And not saying that, the police are all defendants. What I'm saying is, though, we have to hold them to a level. But the way we do that is through communication and collaboration as well. To ensure that we're getting the best.
There's a lot of cops that listen to this show. There's cops listening now that go, well, he's just going to be another one of those folks that come in here and beat on the cops and don't let us do our job. What do you say to them?
I say that they're wrong. I'm a military brat. So my dad was an officer in the United States Army, and I grew up with discipline and respect for authority. So I respect authority, but I also think that as a Howard Law graduate, that you're supposed to be able to challenge authority and do it correctly. One thing I know as a former assistant state's attorney is that our good police officers hate bad police officers as much as we do.
And by the way, the majority of them are good police officers.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what we do now is we work and we empower the good ones to root out the bad ones so that we can get rid of that and get back to what everyone wants. It's good policing. They want safe neighborhoods, and they want things done in a just fashion.
Well, you brought up something in the previous chunk that you were talking about a moment ago, which I think is really important. We're a couple 300 cops down regularly. Depending on the department, and in some ways more than that. We're having trouble recruiting new officers to come in because they don't believe the job is rewarding, along with it being more dangerous than ever. It's not your job to fix that in its entirety, but a working relationship with the state's attorney's office, where the state's attorney's office is not the enemy, but someone who is working in conjunction to put the bad guys away and keep them away. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but the public's opinion of the state's attorney's office has been, yeah, the cops go out and arrest them, and then the state's attorney's office doesn't keep them in jail, whether it's charging documents, whatever the case may be, whatever lawyering goes on, they're back on the street to commit more crimes. How do you fix it?
I think that part of that is the narrative on what's going on. It's my understanding right now that of the cases that are brought to the state's attorney's office, that the state's attorney is moving forward with about 87% of those cases. So that's not prosecuting.
That's the felony approval process and going through all of that?
That's my understanding, correct. And then of that 87%, about 82% of that 87% actually move forward to some part in the court proceedings. So I think that the narrative is off a little bit right there. But again, it's communication, right? It's letting people know. I think that both sides of the office, I think people absolutely understand and know about the exonerations or whatnot because of the communication that's on there. So we also should communicate on the arrests that are made, right? The convictions that are coming through so that people know that we are being safe and just at the same time. That this is going on, that, you know, this pedophile was taken off the streets because of the good work that was done by the investigations, right, and everything that's going on. That this smash and grab, that this syndicate, this crime, you know, family that was or whatever crime group that was going on has been destroyed, you know, through special prosecutions, and we're working with law enforcement at the same time, and that's where I went through in narcotics with special prosecutions. So I understand how we can build up, and I know we're on radio. I'm very demonstrative. Sorry about that.
No,
that's fine. But you know, the thing that you addressed too, and I say this all the time, the people in the hardest neighborhoods in Chicago want the same thing that people want in Lake Bluff and Naperville and everywhere else. You want to be able to have your kids get up, go to school safely, get home safely. You just want a good life and hopefully a better life for your kids. Those neighborhoods are suffering the most by not having enough police to do the job. And I would also argue by not having enough attorneys in the state's attorney's office. So, Jane, you were looking at some numbers for that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and talking about morale. So you talked about the morale among law enforcement. It seems to be low morale among the state's attorney's office. Some of the assistant state's attorneys leaving. The experienced prosecutors are leaving. How are you going to support the assistant state's attorneys to improve morale and then get people to come back in and serve and work?
Yeah, I think that that's a great question. I think that the first thing that we have to look at is recruitment and retention on what's going on. We have to tell our story that the role of the prosecutor, the state's attorney, the assistant state's attorneys is a laudable one. This is something that's good. We protect our communities. We're the last line of defense right there. So we come in and we close the cases that come to and through. And, you know, I talked about holding everyone accountable. We hold ourselves accountable or whatnot. But, you know, the prestige of the office is there. And we just have to talk about it again. When I came through, you know, and I came in under Dick Devine as the state's attorney at that point in time, you know, it was...
You don't look old enough to remember Dick Devine.
I have these gray hairs on my chin and not so many on my head. Yeah. But, you know, what it was we were talking about the mission. And when you go back, you know, I'm in Washington Park, so I'm on the south side of Chicago. And we deserve safe neighborhoods too. So that's a full system what's going on right there. And the men and women that are already in the state's attorney's office, and some have been there since I was there and even before, they're proud of the work that they do. And they just need to know that people know that we appreciate what's going on and that we're telling the story.
I think you have to make it a more desirable job in an office environment that people know they want to work for you. And by the way, I misspoke. The 300 down is the state's attorney's office. Right. It's 800 to 1,000 down, depending on how you count on the police side.
Right.
And you need those positions filled. We'll take a break for traffic and a couple of things. We'll come back and we'll talk more. Clayton Harris, for people that want to know more about you and find out about your run for state's attorney, where do they go?
Oh, they can go to my, thank you. They can go to my website, www.claytonharris4cook.com.
How many R's, how many S's?
2 R's, 1 S.
2 R's, 1 S.
Yeah, there it is.
Distinction, right? Clayton Harris is here, wants to be state's attorney. Kim Foxx announced she would not run again. All right, let me get into a couple of specifics here. The Jussie Smollett thing was obviously a huge touchstone in how it was handled or mishandled by Kim Foxx's office. I'm not asking you to bash on Kim Foxx. I'm asking you how you would handle things that have been handled a particular way previous to this when you come into office. And another one would be, we got a huge shoplifting problem, steps from here on Michigan Avenue, where the felony number was changed from $300 for a felony to $1,000 for a felony. And I think you can commit 10 before you get to that status where you're going to be charged with a felony regardless. So we got businesses that are concerned about opening their doors because people can come in and steal stuff. Give me 2 or 3 things. You win 2 or 3 things that Kim Foxx's office has done that you'd repeal, you'd fix, you'd replace. What would you do?
So the first and foremost, what I would talk about is some of the things that the current state's attorney, Kim Foxx, has done. It's been nationally replicated. So we're going to continue with those things. These are good things, like with the dashboard, when we're talking about restorative justice or whatnot. When you talk about, what's happening, let me tell you what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on holding everyone accountable. We're going to hold everyone accountable. But you asked specifically about the $300 and $1,000.
Yeah, let's talk about shoplifting.
Right. So, the issue becomes, whether you're going to prosecute someone for a felony at $300. And I am going to hold, my administration, so we're clear, is going to hold everyone accountable, but we're probably not going to prosecute people under $1,000 as a felony.
Let me interrupt you. Here's why I bring it up. The world, when that number was changed, in Indiana, it was changed as well, and in some other states. And when that number was changed, we lived in a different world than we live in now. We're 2 years down the road. We have empirical, anecdotal, legitimate eyewitness evidence that it's not working. It's not working. There's a reason people are walking into stores and taking stuff, so wouldn't dropping that number make a difference?
It has shown that it would not, and the data has shown that. But what is being shown, and I've talked with the retailers, I've talked with even the restaurateurs and everyone about that, and it's being affected. And we're right here, right? And so what we have to do is make sure that people know we're holding them accountable. So just because you're not getting a felony on a shoplifting at $300 doesn't mean that you're not being held accountable. We can still charge people with misdemeanors. We can still do other things to ensure that people are being held accountable without giving necessarily a felony. We're not talking about recidivism. We're not talking about career folks. I'm talking about just on there and one time. The example I use is my iPhone right here, right? Mm-hmm. Let's pretend it's worth more than $300. It's an old one. But if someone came and stole this, just flat out stole this, I don't think, even though it's got everything on my life, especially the pictures of my kids, right? That this is worth a felony for the rest of their life. I just don't. That's where I am. Now, if someone comes in, same phone, and they break through this, right, or they break through a door, we don't have to worry about whether this costs $300 or $1,000. Now we have a breaking in, right? So we have a burglary. We can charge them at that level. We don't have to worry about how much this costs because we can charge them with the felony. Same scenario, but this time there is a weapon, and I'm going against you directly, and I'm taking it from your person, or even in the store. When we have the one with the bear spray and they assaulted, that's not fair. That's not right. So we hold this person now with a robbery that we can do. So we don't have to worry about whether they took one of these or 10 iPhones, right? And how much that costs on whether they get a felony or not. We're talking about the totality of the circumstances.
Listen, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I understand the logic of what you're saying. I think it's a tough sell. I think it's a tough sell to people who see what's going on and see the news reports of all this going on. And I think it's going to be an uphill battle to push it that way. But let me jump to guns, because you brought up guns. It's a great concern. We got the strictest gun laws in the country in Chicago. We also have massive gun violence. I've said 100 times why J.B. Pritzker isn't screaming at other governors, including the governor of Indiana, saying we know the guns are coming from there. We know they're coming from Mississippi. I want your help, and I want your help right now. You got to work with Springfield on any number of different things to get stuff done. The perception is Kim Foxx's office has created an environment where if I get busted for a gun crime, I can get out tomorrow as well.
We're going to be aggressive on gun crimes. We acknowledge the difference between a crime committed with a gun and a crime committed while having a gun. And maybe that gun was in the vehicle or whatnot, and there was speeding. So there's not a focus on the gun at that point in time. Again, we're holding everyone accountable. We're looking at the nuances with that, but we're moving forward with gun crimes because those are serious crimes.
What can you do about ankle bracelets? Because the idea that I can be an ankle bracelet could be slapped on me, and for 48 hours, you don't even know what I'm doing.
Anywhere else, yeah.
Well, we're going to work with the chief judge and the sheriff with those. Those are the monitoring systems right there. They're not the state's attorneys, and I'm not trying to point fingers or anything.
But are you bothered by that 48-hour period?
I think that what we want to make sure is that people are safe and that people are coming back to court when they're supposed to do it. So the no cash bail, this is doing what it's supposed to do. So when you're talking about the ankle monitoring directly, I think that we need to look at how that is administered and how it moves forward. So we definitely want to make sure that, our community is safe. And if it's a 48-hour lag or window, we need to address that.
So one of the issues that you run into, Clayton Harris, in this job is this perception, and it's easy for people to push, is that you're Tony Preckwinkle's guy, that you're an invention of Preckwinkle and the Preckwinkle machine, if you will. Convince the public that you're not.
I am a military brat. I was born in Virginia. I moved every 3 years. Graduated high school in Germany, undergrad at Tennessee, Middle Tennessee State University, law school at Howard, and I came here to prosecute. My roots are in America, right? I'm an American right there, but I didn't grow up in this system. I think that I am very proud to have the backing of President Preckwinkle. I'm very proud of that. But I think one of the reasons why I have her backing is the independent streak that I bring as well. I've done a lot of things in a lot of different areas, and I bring a lot of different realities with me. I'm very independent with what I want and how I feel like we should move forward.
So we can count on you or standing up to whoever you need to stand up to in that regard. The state's attorney's office, criminal justice reform has to be part of the bigger picture of the state's attorney's office, but catching bad guys, putting them away, and keeping them there until the justice system does its job also has to be a huge part of your day. Which is more important?
Oh, I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I think that they go hand in hand. Matter of fact, that's my platform. We're talking about safety and justice at the same time. We can do more than one thing at a time. We can walk and chew gum. So neither supersedes the other. We have to be safe, and we have to do it in a just fashion.
Is it a 50-50 world, though? I mean, don't you have to put the bad guys away first before you worry about taking care of the injustices that have been done?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're parallel tracks. Because when we do this correctly, we start to mitigate having to do the more things on the just side, and the people who are falsely tortured or beat into confessions, people who never should have been in prison right there. And then we're able to focus on the folks who should be in jail, these violent offenders, these folks that are making our communities less safe, making people not want to come downtown, it's tough, right? To take your two little kids. I have two little kids, right? Mm-hmm. We talked about 9/11 to get on the L to come downtown, right? When you're concerned and you're worried about how you're doing. No one should have to live like that at all. But it shouldn't just be downtown. It should be south. It should be north. It should be west. And even on the east side, we all deserve that. And I have faith in our community. I have faith in Cook County, and I have faith in the system and the process. We can do this. We just have to focus. And I would say I appreciate this so much because we have to keep our eyes on it, but it's not an either or. It's an and.
So you got to do both. You got to juggle both at the same time.
Absolutely.
And you also all you have to do, by the way, and I don't know, maybe a bake sale, free brownies. I don't know what you're doing when it comes to the public opinion of the office. But Jane, you and I were talking about it off the air, and increasing in positive ways the public opinion of the office is going to be absolutely crucial.
Well, because a lot of people are ready for Kim Foxx to be out, and you said one of your superpowers is collecting friends. So how do you change the public opinion of the state's attorney's office?
So one of the things that I want to do, too, is when we look at community policing, right, I think that that's an excellent thing with law enforcement is community policing. But we want to do the same thing with the state's attorneys. We want to make sure that the state's attorneys are part of the neighborhoods and where they are. So we look at the community courts and putting the correct assistant state's attorneys in those courts that understand the neighborhoods where they are. And they might even be from those neighborhoods right there. I think when you go from being in a neighborhood to being part of a neighborhood, that your trust factor comes up and that the prestige comes back to and through, and people see the assistant state's attorneys. They see the state's attorney as one of them, as part of them, and not someone who's working.
So you got to do a good job on a Monday. You got to come back, do a good job on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and a Thursday. That's part of the deal. You're not really afforded a chance to do a lot of bad jobs, and you get a chance to make less mistakes. But again, you want the job, Clayton.
I do. I'm asking for this.
All right, one more time. Where do people find more information?
www.claytonharrisforcook.com.
ClaytonHarrisForCook.com. You'll come back.
Oh, anytime. All you have to do is ask. I'm
Thank
here.
you. Come back.
It's good to
Please.
meet you, and my best to your family, and please stay safe.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank
And
you.
to you.
Happy New Year.